So in this moment, I give all glory to God. So here we are moving into a new year. Yay, everybody happy? As one year changes into another, it's grateful. It's time to be grateful for all the blessings that we received. Many of those are obvious. We can still remember them because maybe the enjoyment of it made us smile and feel good about ourselves. And we got to know that it's truly wonderful to have all these great experiences that happen to us throughout the year. But it's also important to give thanks for all the difficult times we've experienced and to take time to consider the lessons that we may have learned from them and help us grow as humans. Perhaps they helped you develop more patience in your life, or the ability to forgive, or the development of humility where we accept that we not always have to be right. And there are likely many other lessons that each of us have learned in this last year and be grateful for. So I ask you to take time to consider all those lessons and bless them, and then let them go. And let's look forward to the coming year with the expectation of a lot of other opportunities for our enjoyment, other ways that we can help others, learn new skills, accomplish goals. Maybe there'll be opportunities to make new friends and share love with our family and friends. Taking time to bless ourselves, to appreciate each other, and allow the miracle working power of love to guide us in everything that we do in our life. 2019 will be a year to contact deeper levels of consciousness within ourselves, to connect to that Christ consciousness that we talked about, to reconsider everything about your life so far, and to reinvent yourself through new courses of action. The influence of this year will help all people to see new opportunities, to realize your potential in life. We should consider when we've made progress on the spiritual path, when we move forward and when we've held ourselves back out of fear, concern, and then meditate upon those qualities that we hope that we can make them our own in this coming year. Know that everything that happens to us helps us turn our attention to God within, which is actually the only reality, not any of those things that are going on outside. Know that God loves us no matter what, and we need to know there is no failure. That's a very important thing. There's no failure about anything. We also do our best in the moment because that's the choice that we make, and then we make different choices, but they're always the best that we know what to do, and there's no need to give up. We are here to have experiences to learn from, to change our consciousness, to experience more that we are made in the perfection and the image and likeness of God, the oneness that we are. So therefore, we are constantly growing in our perfection. And so if you can visualize when a beloved being stretches forth one hand to God and asks for help, the divine beloved reaches down both hands to uplift that being. Think about that for yourselves. Every time we get an anxiety or fear or something, God is reaching down for us, and all we have to do is put our hands up. So let's keep at least one hand outstretched toward the divine, praying for his guidance, as well as reaching to God within us. So there's 3 parts to this talk today. That was part 1. Part 2 is the beginning of this new year symbolizes the possibility of a new beginning, an improvement over what was. It can be a dream, a hope, anything. To one who is intimately involved with one's soul, which is what we talk about here, that's connected to the soul in a physical sense, it can be the anticipation of the divine presence, feeling that presence much stronger in ourselves and guiding us in our lives. And that it will somehow touch our life with blessings of multitudes in this following year. To most people, a new year indeed presents an opportunity for positive expectation that somehow, in some way, the possibility exists that things will be better. Right? In order for such dreams and wishes to become realities, our mind must adopt an attitude and state of consciousness where we have this expectance of movement in our lives and improvement, both inwardly and of course outwardly once that happens. And that we are willing to take the action necessary to give energy to our thoughts in a day-to-day world in instances and situations that are going on. There are numerous factors that contribute to one finding themselves in this place of starting anew. Metaphysically, beyond science, each new start symbolizes the karmic release from something that was necessary to one's human experience. for the need to progress to the next step of their personal soul evolution. So we're talking about how everything that happens to us is just stepping stones to be connected to the source, to the God, Christ consciousness within. Starting anew for many people is only a last resort, maybe, and something that they don't do cheerfully, because as humans sometimes we have resistance, which is psychologically understandable, as many people find themselves reaching internally, reacting internally to the fear of the unknown. Kind of what we talked about this morning. We're not sure what's going on, and so while we do that, we cling to the security of familiarity and what's going on right now, instead of letting go and opening up. Starting our life anew, which is the title of this talk, encompasses many unanswered questions that threatens one's sense of sameness. In the more surface human levels of the mind, the choice may be, well, let's just leave it well enough alone. We don't want to upset the cart or anything. Right? And even though that what constitutes well enough may be far from what's necessary for a part of our evolution. So we're like getting ourselves stopped and stuck in something. To experience expansion and growth in a new year, you must believe in your heart that you can experience it. That's a good way to start. Have the expectation that this year I will be open to anything that comes to me. No surface, casual, simple wishing will make it so. It has to be in your heart and you know it. The mind responds to the power of your belief, because belief becomes faith. When that basis of belief is enforced by a spiritual premise to give possibilities credence in your life. It requires a newness of spirit to let go of the uncertainties of old patterns of thought and move into a new dynamic energy. It helps to be able to lift one beyond what has been to what can be. In short, the need in your life has to be fueled by fire. Feel the energy in your heart and your body that I'm going to make this a good year because this is my life. I have the opportunity to do that. I'm able to lift my beyond what has been to what can be, to one's own spirit, or more specifically, the spirit that is the presence of God within, the Christ consciousness that we always want to connect with, and be able to see that in everybody else. An eternal cleansing, as it were, takes place when we do that. It gives newness to us, to the mind, or as the Bible states, and we've heard this before, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The mind must concentrate its focus on the present and the future, not on the past and what has been, but mostly on the present. That's where we want to be. And along with the willingness to let go of the past, you must be more aware and conscious of your own spiritual reality. Consciously stated, you must grow. You can't stay in the same place. And we grow every moment of the day in our consciousness, in our body, in our heart, and everything. So we got to be prepared for that. Be open to it. It's more likely for growth to come correctly and readily when you are aware of and using the God part of your mind, that Christ consciousness, because then you know that what's coming to you is coming from God. You must consider yourself in a different position than you were in all the years past. You're not that person anymore, and you got to regard the differences as positive, because when you have more living and experience, you grow to be wiser. And you become more aware than you were in the past. That's why it's not good to find fault with yourself, but just say, I've learned something every moment of the day as I move forward. I look at the past, look where I'm at now. Look where I'll be down the road. And open up to that. So to activate this resolution, it is suggested that you look into yourself, beloveds, into the God part of your mind, and be intuitively guided to know what directions, what activities, what thoughts, what decisions you should implement. Let me say that again. To activate a resolution of moving forward, look into yourself, into the God part of your mind, not your ego, not your fear, but the God part, so that you can listen to what you will be intuitively guided to, what directions, what activities, what thoughts, what decisions. So it means just calm down, be peaceful, know that you're being taken care of. And it must be present in your mind that repeating identical lifestyle experiences of the past without introducing anything new will prevent you from truly starting a new year in a way that sets positive dynamics into motion. So what we're saying here is let go of all things in the past. They're gone. Don't let them hold you back. God's presence alone can reveal the purpose of your soul and the newness of its experience. And we do not know what our soul is here to experience, but we know it is, and that's what guides us in our life. When we know that, it enables our mind to comprehend that its real life is the purpose of the soul, which is an individualized manifestation of God. If we are to be rescued from a jail-like existence, we must receive the inspiration of God from the sanctuary of our heart. And in this nature of God's presence, it's constantly renewing us and renewing creation. Everything is being born again. As it says in the Bible, God lives, moves, and has its being within us. And we do the same thing. We are one with God. So with faith that God will intuitively guide you, I want you to resolve within yourself that you will put into action these choices, directions, and activities that you have an interest in doing. Don't think about something and then let it go, because it's come from God. You've got to be open to say yes all the time. I will be guided. The closer that one is to God, the greater the possibility that the person's soul will touch universal spirit, whose nature will infuse the soul with the energy of its newness. And that is discernible to one's conscious mind as an inspiration to enliven your life, make it alive even more, and start living your life anew. Okay? Part 3. And we talk about a lot of different things here because everything is part of life. We talk about new thought, about metaphysics, about relationships, communication, ascension, all sorts of things. So we're going to talk about something a little bit differently. And I ask you now to get ready, beloveds, because, listen to this, everything you desire is about to become your reality sooner than you think. Yes. This last year, we lived through an atypically tumultuous and exhausting 11 universal year. If you add up 2018, it makes 11. And it was made even more intense by a rare cosmic container of heavy retrogrades, planetary transits, and to make the matters worse, it was the heaviest retrograde season we've seen in years. You may remember talks that I gave to you, what was coming to us energetically during the summer and those full moons that we had in April, May, and June, and then things happened otherwise as well. So there was a lot going on. You may feel worn out, battered, and bruised after last year, and one could hardly blame you because it was a challenging year for most people. It was an intense 11 universal year. And remember, universal means everyone, not just you or me or whatever. It brought with it deep spiritual lessons, massive upheaval and uncertainty. But you're here, you made it, right? You weathered the storm, and the universe is finally easing up, because 2019 is a 3 universal year, if you add up the numbers. It carries a powerful energy that influences everyone on this planet, and it sets our course to the new year. 3 is the number of creation, manifestation, and self-expression. You ready for that? And it carries a lightness and confidence you haven't felt for years. Well, it may seem like you've been waiting an eternity for this year. You had important work. Each of us had work to do, because it said it was about deep spiritual lessons and the upheaval and uncertainty that went with it. So, the last 2 years have been challenging for you, but this year everything's going to change. 2019 will be the year that you bounce back bigger and better than ever before. Are you ready to leave last year in the dust? Start the new year off right? Remember that the universal year number represents an unavoidable energetic frequency that influences every single person on the planet. There's the oneness that we talked about. 3 is the number of creation, manifestation, and self-expression. So those things will be coming up in each of us. Stay awake to it. And it may, some people look at it as the most magical number of all. In sacred geometry, the number 3 is represented by the triangle. The universe's trinity of birth, life, and death. So we're going to go through that as 2. Birth of ideas, life for a while, death of something, and birth of something new. When you turn a triangle upside down, it represents the wound, the place where every new being, idea, and intention is created, ready to be expressed in this world. So there's a lot going on. 3 is the number of time, past, present, future, beginning, middle, end. And there are 3 primary colors that create every single other color in the universe. You see how 3 just goes around through everything in our universe. So, beloveds, this is the moment you've been waiting for. The shackles are off, the delays are behind, the cosmos is conspiring in your favor for the first time in your years. And if you're prepared, it will be definitely easier than last year. You can finally take off any gloves that you've been wearing for fights, because this is less about the fight and more about freedom. How does that sound? Okay. So prepare yourselves for it, and let's say an affirmation. I recognize that my first priority as I start a new year and throughout it is to seek God's heavenly consciousness at the center of my mind, knowing that through such contact, all else that I need will be added to me. And then I say to end, let us resolve to make a greater effort in this new year to sweep everything aside that would take us away from our source. That's where we need to be. Namaste.